YouTube, Niner Empire, what is going down? Welcome back to another video. Man, what a day for the NFL. A bombshell came out early this morning that Pete Carroll has been hired by the Las Vegas Raiders to be their next head coach, which obviously tallies out another head coach opening and a potential landing spot for Robert Saleh. Obviously, last night, after Liam Cohen, the Buccaneers offensive coordinator, wildly took the Jaguars head coaching job, it was then reported that Robert Saleh was expected to return to the 49ers to be their defensive coordinator. Now, with that, obviously, there are two head coaching jobs left. It's the Dallas Cowboys and the New Orleans Saints. I don't know who the hell the New Orleans Saints have reached out to interview. I don't know who they're planning on hiring. I don't think anybody does at this moment in time. That's just kind of gonna be a waiting game. Who gives a shit though? This is all about the Niners at the end of the day. However, Robert Saleh, there hasn't been any conversation that is linking him to the New Orleans Saints. So I don't think he wants to take that job. I don't think there's mutual interest there at all. And then obviously the Dallas Cowboys are currently expected to hire Brian Schottenheimer, their offensive coordinator. They don't want to have Dak learn a new offensive system, so it's likely that they hire their offensive coordinator from last year, Brian Schottenheimer, as their head coach. What the hell are the Cowboys doing? I have no idea. They've missed out on so many different head coaching candidates. Mike McCarthy, I don't think necessarily should have been fired, in my opinion. I don't necessarily think he's the problem. I think Jerry Jones is the problem, and until he looks in the mirror and realizes that he's the problem and sells the team, the Cowboys will continue to burn. And that's fine by me. Screw the Cowboys. However, so again, obviously Dallas zeroing in on Brian Schottenheimer. The Saints, who the hell knows who they're reaching out to try and hire, but it's definitely not Robert Saleh. So with all of this, obviously the Niners, last night news broke, they're expected to hire Saleh as their DC. However, nothing is official. Again, I've been seeing tweets about, people are kind of already jumping to conclusions that the deal is done for the 49ers to bring back Robert Saleh. That is false. This deal is not officially done. However, it's like almost inevitable that he is returning to the 49ers, which is massive, massive news. The 49ers will get the guy that they've wanted all along, and that is a massive hire. So with Robert Saleh coming in, obviously he's going to be, in essence, the head coach of the defense. Matt Maiocco of NBC Sports Bay Area reported that he's hearing Brandon Staley is not expected to be back with the 49ers. So in other words, the 49ers are practically firing him, or they're mutually agreeing to part ways. I'm not shocked in this. There's no reason for him to be on this staff if they know that Robert Saleh is going to be their defensive coordinator. Obviously, a couple days ago, I made a video when it was expected that, or when Liam Cohen initially backed out of the Jaguars job. Obviously, that looked very bad for the 49ers in terms of potentially losing Robert Saleh to Jacksonville. But obviously, if you guys missed my video last night on the 49ers expected to hire Saleh, I went into detail about what transpired with Liam Cohen and how he kind of had a last-second change of heart and ended up taking the head coaching job for the Jaguars. Obviously, because of that, that's kind of why the 49ers got Robert Saleh. Like, they fired Trent Baalke after Liam Cohen backs out of the running for the Jaguars head coaching job, verbally agrees to return to Tampa Bay and be one of the highest paid offensive coordinators in all of football. And then they fire Baalke. Shad Khan calls Liam Cohen again and is like, hey, we will pay you Ben Johnson money and we'll let you pick your general manager. Obviously, that's even more appealing to Liam Cohen than it ever was in the first place. And obviously now the deal is done for him to become their next head coach. So obviously shout out to Trent Baalke for once again helping the 49ers. This is the second time his firing has helped the 49ers. Obviously, most notably after the 2016 season. So yeah, shout out Trent Baalke for obviously helping the 49ers out in that sense. However, though, like I said, Matt Mayoko is reporting that Staley will not be back. Obviously, if Saleh would have went to Jacksonville and got that job, the next candidate that would have likely become the 49ers defensive coordinator would have probably been Brandon Staley, which I don't know how I could have lived with myself knowing that he was that he could have been our defensive coordinator. It's just such a terrible move on the 49ers part to have him as like a backup option if they can't get Saleh. I'm not a fan of how the 49ers actually went into this whole defensive coordinator search. The next go around, if Saleh leaves next year or whatever and the deal becomes official that, he's our defensive coordinator and then next year head coaching jobs open up, the 49ers cannot just settle with a guy like Brandon Staley. Like they have to interview multiple candidates for their defensive coordinator position. Whether these guys want to come here and interview for the position or not, reach out to them. They only interviewed 3 guys for their defensive coordinator job. Staley, Deshae Townsend, and Robert Saleh. Those were the only 3 guys that they interviewed to become the defensive coordinator. And I'm just not a fan of how they kind of handled the process, because if Saleh takes the Jacksonville job, the 49ers waiting around for him just backfired. And then they have to settle with a guy like Brandon Staley, who was likely probably the leading candidate to become the Niners defensive coordinator if Robert Saleh ended up taking that job. So thank God that it panned out in the way that it did. But again, I mean, with Saleh practically being the head coach of the defense for this upcoming season, why the hell is Brandon Staley on your staff? Why the hell was he even on your staff in the first place is my question. Obviously, it seems like Saleh or Shanahan respects him and whatnot, but he's like, there wasn't a single team, and I said this in one of my recent videos, there wasn't a single team in the NFL that reached out to San Francisco to try and look at Brandon Staley as a defensive coordinator or to try to look at him as a head coach. Now, obviously, trying to hire in Brandon Staley as a head coach would have been a catastrophe for any team. And obviously, hence to why nobody even reached out to the 49ers to try and interview him. But again, I mean, with Robert Saleh coming to San Francisco now, what looks like he will be coming to San Francisco now, no reason to keep Brandon Staley. His role was genuinely to be Kyle Shanahan's assistant head coach. And not only that, but to kind of overlook the defense in a way and kind of help out Nick Sorensen. So now, obviously, Brandon Staley and both Nick Sorensen out with the 49ers to any degree. They will not be on the team next year. And now both of those guys looking for new jobs. So again, obviously, there's no reason to bring Staley back in this situation. Obviously, this isn't finalized, but I mean, this is coming from Matt Mayoko that he is not expected to return because of Robert Saleh's presence now as the defensive coordinator. So again, I mean, to me, it's just, I don't know. It's crazy to me that, Staley was even in the running for defensive coordinator in the first place. And, I'm not saying that Staley doesn't deserve a second chance or whatnot. I mean, the way he kind of coached the Chargers over the last few years or whatever, it was pretty bad. So, it's not shocking to me that nobody reached out to try to interview him for a defensive coordinator position or anything like that. But again, I mean, this isn't done, so there is obviously still a little bit of a chance that Kyle Shanahan could still retain Brandon Staley to some degree. But again, with Saleh being there, the 49ers practically have 2 head coaches on the football team now. And obviously Saleh leading the defense, Shanahan leading the offense. Brandon Staley is the odd one out, as he should be. So let me know what you guys think, though, of this in the comments down below. Again, it's been a pretty big day in the NFL. What a hire by the Raiders to get Pete Carroll. Obviously, I made a video a couple days ago as well about the 49ers have had internal discussions with Pete Carroll to become their defensive coordinator, but things have really taken a turn over the last 24 hours. I mean, now Saleh is expected to become the defensive coordinator, something that just broke a couple minutes ago. The Houston Texans fired their offensive coordinator, Bobby Slowick. DeMeco Ryans hired Bobby Slowick when he left for the Houston Texans head coaching job. He took who was then our passing game coordinator in Bobby Slowick and took him to Houston with him to become their offensive coordinator. And obviously now, in more of kind of a surprising move, DeMeco Ryans fires Bobby Slowick after they won a playoff game. Their offense definitely took a step back, from what it was last year. I didn't expect Bobby Slowick to be let go, though, so I'll be interested to see as well if the 49ers are one to reach out to Bobby Slowick to have him return to the 49ers, to the offensive coaching staff to some degree. Obviously, we know that Clay Kubiak is expected to be our next offensive coordinator. That's per Kyle Shanahan. But obviously would love to bring back Bobby Slowick to some degree to the offensive staff. So I definitely think it's going to be very hard to do that. I think Bobby Slowick, with as many offensive coordinator jobs open currently, I would also honestly, I think the Saints could absolutely try to reach out to Bobby Slowick to become their head coach. I don't know, but last year, Bobby Slowick was actually a very hot candidate to become a head coach, and he obviously elects to stay with Houston and then coaches one more year, and now he's fired. So crazy how quick things can take a turn in the NFL. But again, I would love to bring back Bobby Slowick to some degree, but I definitely think with Detroit out there needing an offensive coordinator, Dallas is going to need an offensive coordinator if Brian Schottenheimer, becomes the head coach, unless he elects to still call plays or whatnot. There's a lot of jobs out there that Bobby Slowick could absolutely take over, returning to the 49ers offensive staff to some degree. So it's going to be probably tough for the Niners to bring him back, but it's worth at least reaching out to him to see if he's open to the idea of that. So we shall see what happens. Let me know what you guys think of, obviously, Brandon Staley not returning to the 49ers following the hiring of DeMeco Ryans, following the hiring of Robert Saleh. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. As always, go Niners. I'll see you guys in the next one.